So the new collection in wildlife research of Indigenous and cross-cultural wildlife research in Australia provides a really good opportunity for us to showcase some of the amazing Indigenous-led research around the country. I guess it means sort of research that's sort of harnessing that right way science approach, which is blending the approaches of Indigenous knowledge with Western science methodologies in a respectful way. There are really great researchers, non-Indigenous out there working with communities that actually have really great relationships, and I think it was a relatively easy process to find those projects. When we were looking at the collection in a whole, really what we sort of identified were three key themes. So there was what we sort of classified as putting country first. So this was assertions from mob about how they wanted to care for country in their own way, and that really drew often on the identification of culturally significant entities and how that was going to shape the caring for country within people's custodial territories. And that was a real strong theme that cut across the whole issue. We also had a lot showing the opportunities for non-Indigenous researchers of working with Indigenous people, and that's access to the enormous territories that Indigenous people are responsible for caring for, and the access that gives wildlife researchers, I guess, to conduct their works. And the final one, a really important theme, was ensuring that these projects are respectful and reciprocal. So when mob are being engaged, there are resources provided for them to engage in a respectful way, to follow the principles of free, prior and informed consent. And in projects where that was, I guess, enacted, were the strongest relationships formed and the best outcomes. I reckon there's some real challenges in translating Indigenous-led research into publication. We did become aware of some interesting reviews when papers were submitted, questioning language, that sort of stuff. And so I think these special collections, special editions of journals sort of help to break down some of those barriers and create a bit of a quantum of Indigenous-led research that gets out there. I think that's why they're very important. One of the really cool things now that we're seeing more and more is not only the questions being co-developed with mob and non-Indigenous researchers, they're involved also in the publication stage, so they're listed as authors on papers, and we're seeing more novel ways of incorporating country as an author as well. But also now starting to see more regularly mob co-presenting on the research. I think that's really important, that mob come as part of the presentation to the research community, present their results in the same way that we ask non-Indigenous researchers to go back in the community and present what they've found. So I think that's really positive. The key thing with working with Indigenous people is taking time and building relationships. It sounds trite because we talk about it all the time, but it's an investment, basically. And I think it's a challenge to the Academy at large to actually value people going out and forming strong relationships. Too often, I think the cycle of projects is around 3 years, around the length of a PhD project. And really, there's not a lot of benefit from the students, Indigenous or non-Indigenous, of forming those strong relationships when they go out to do work. In fact, we need to find ways of acknowledging that work and ensuring that it's valued and part of the Academy.